The establishment of marine protected areas is among the most common initiatives done in the Philippines to address resource depletion and habitat degradation brought about by increasing threats from natural and anthropogenic sources. MPAs are portions of the sea which are protected by the law. According to MPA Atlas, the Philippines hosts 1,557 MPAs, more than any other country in Southeast Asia. On the other hand, no-take zones are a specific type of MPA set by government aside where no extractive activity is allowed. Extractive activity is any actions that extracts or removes any resource, which includes fishing, hunting, logging, mining, and drilling, even shell collecting and archaeological digging. Many MPAs allow people to use the area in ways that do not damage the environment. The main reason in establishing MPA in the Philippines is the decline of fishery resources. This includes threats, mainly overfishing, pollution, climate change, and overexploitation of resources that deteriorate or even worse, collapse the coastal ecosystems of certain areas. The purpose of establishing MPA in the Philippines is to sustain fisheries utilization, ensuring that resources are sustainable and won't run out. This action prevents overfishing and ensures that fish can reproduce and maintain healthy populations. RA or Republic Act 8550 is known as the Philippine Fisheries Code of 1998. This is declared policy to limit access to the fishery and aquatic resources of the Philippines for the exclusive use and enjoyment of Filipino citizens. The marine reserves are stipulated under this law and is intended to protect resources and endangered species from disturbances. Arceo et al. 2001 summarizes the various criteria for establishment and the importance of determining the threats and root concerns of a potential priority MPA. These criteria evaluate the significant values of MPA and the threat level in each area. This is for the purpose of deriving important relative concerns in among MPA and thus monitors the necessary actions MPA should consider.
Okay, before we proceed, this is the overview content that we were about to tackle. First is the works of Alcala and Ross, where they demonstrate the effectiveness of having marine reserves. Second one is the National Priority Conservation Areas, where we are about to learn about the process which utilizes a map-based computerized geographic information system by identifying priority areas based on taxonomic and habitats. And the third one is the frequency distribution of marine protected areas per biogeographic zone, where we are about to learn about the number of priority areas. And the fourth one is the biomass buildup of fish within the no-take areas, where we are about to learn about the interesting work of Alcala and company. And also the map of Ragay Gulf in the Philippines, subdivided into highly fish and less fish, where commercial fishing has been banned. Catch rate have also increased. And the last two are the patterns of decline and recovery in said marine species from year 1984 to 1992. Okay, the works of Ross and Alcala have been one of the more acclaimed papers to demonstrate the effectiveness of having marine reserves in the recovery of depleted stocks within the protected areas. In the Philippines, a recent initiative to look at an integrated framework of national priority conservation areas has been undertaken using a series of consultation workshops. This process utilizes a map-based computerized geographic information system, or GIS, and with the help of experts' opinion in identifying priority areas based on taxonomic and habitat significance values overlays, the marine corridors and integrated map of important species and habitats has been created. Now, these marine corridors here are linked to marine habitat that occur naturally, which joins two or more larger areas of similar marine habitat. By providing a network of connections here between larger areas of habitat, it can enable migration, colonization, and interbreeding of marine animals. Now, why is it important? It is because the increasing catch rate is also the main contributor of continuing biodiversity decline across these areas. In result of severe biodiversity decline and local extinction of sensitive species. Therefore, a holistic approach is required across both public and private areas here to protect and manage natural ecosystems and ensure connectivity between remaining habitats to contribute a wider conservation efforts by enhancing and linking existing reserves and conservation networks. That's why these priority areas here are critical for the maintenance of ecological processes, including allowing for the movement of marine animals and the continuation of viable populations. In addition, the number of priority areas in a biogeographic zone was utilized to identify the allocation of the level of representative areas for conservation. Oftentimes, these areas are relatively large and even identify interconnected priority areas that can serve as marine corridors. These marine corridors are considered to be strategic areas which facilitate the continued exchange of materials and connectivity of various marine biogeographic regions. They play an extremely important role in the maintenance of biodiversity, but they can only partly compensate for the overall increasing catch rate. Unfortunately, the performance and effectiveness in many marine protected areas leaves much to be desired and therefore led to what others call paper parks. Now, the term paper parks has been used to refer to marine managed areas, including protected areas and reserves, that are faced with political, cultural, or enforcement challenges that limit their success, resulting in plans that exist solely on paper. There seems to be a consistent indication that around at least only 10 to 15% of these marine protected areas have been effective despite the tenuous concern of sustaining the effectiveness in the long term. What is interesting in the work of Alcala and co-workers is that these studies were one of the first to show evidence to indicate that there was some spillover of accumulated biomass buildup in adjacent. As you can see here in Figure 3, the biomass buildup of fish within the no-take areas, the average number of species has increased from year 1983 to 1988. Afterwards, they suggested that this spillover can redound to improve catch rates in the adjacent fish areas. More and more examples are starting to demonstrate indicative spillover effects from protection. Therefore, in the Philippines, there is an explicit provision in the new Fisheries Code to encourage the establishment of a marine fishery reserve in each coastal municipality. This has resulted in the upsurge of many small municipal reserves around the country. On the other hand, La Chica Alineo has also suggested that in areas where commercial fishing has been banned for around 5 years, recovery of some of the fishery stocks may be possible. As you can see right here in Figure 4, the map of Bragay Gulf in Philippines subdivided into highly fish and less fish based on ordination analysis suggests that these areas right here where commercial fishing has been banned, catch rate have increased. Now, Ross and Alcala has shown that sustaining the no-take zone and regulation of its adjacent areas is important, or else the fish stock are vulnerable to decline rapidly. As you can see right here, the patterns of decline and recovery from year 1984 to 1992 for the most important family, the Fusiliers, Siscienidae, in the Sumilid fishery. Next is the patterns of decline and recovery of family Lutyanidae, the snappers, the Serenidae, the groupers, and Lutrinidae, the emperors. From year 1984 to 1992 for large predatory fishes at Sumilon. That's all, thank you. You can reach out to me for any questions.
The Agriculture and Fisheries Modernization Act, or AFMA, or RA 8435, is comprehensive legislation that provides a blueprint sector of modernization and rural development in the Philippines. Was signed during December 1997 by the former President Fidel V. Ramos, focused on five major concerns: poverty alleviation, social equity, food security, global competitiveness, and sustainable development, and income profitability, especially for farmers and fish folks. This is the sample of a graph which focus on AFMA MFR program of the Philippines. Fish folks are one that benefits among all. Then we have the Enhancing Sustainable Utilization and Management Scheme, or Tropical Agilid Eel in Southeast Asia. This is to strengthen the management and frameworks for sustainable tropical eels fisheries in ASEAN members of the states. We have a sample mechanism here is the tagging experiment that is useful in the design of marine protected areas on a small scale. The crucial designing in the optimized size of no-take areas. There are possible areas that is not focus on no-taking system, which that means na bawal silang kunan ng mga fish folks products or fish organisms that involves in fisheries, that involves in MPA areas. Table below. Then we also have genetic linkage could improve the monitoring of marine protected areas research. Here, researchers need to do scuba dives to find out which fish lives in given area of the ocean. Like it's an identification of what kind of fishes lives in this area by using diving skills and etc. by the researchers. We have also the dispersal pattern that presents the dynamic hydrography of the winds, the current, and therefore they are likely strongly influenced by the larval dispersal pattern in the MPA. We will develop dynamic models in the current temperature data simulates the dispersal of the fish and larvae during their pelagic stage. Here are some examples in the table. We have an island ecosystem and a long coast type of area. As I've said, the passive dispersal studies the larvae of marine species, traditional theory that tells us offspring relatively passive their movement, riding the ocean currents potentially great and settling new areas of the sea. But the researcher dispersal suggests for many species of larvae may play a relatively active determination on their own settlement area, speaking that they just settle in such area just to do a dispersal larvae, showing that a passive dispersal means that focus on the specific area and do the dispersal larval system of their improving their population. Then we have the active behavioral mechanism and adults behavioral mechanism. Adults and juvenile fish are important in determining the sites. The best entertainment and replenishment sites are located or be located as a juvenile fish, providing the public focus of marine conservation. Like because of this, they are present here in area. They are more provided that states that this area has many juvenile fish to be protected, not just in juvenile fish but also in mammals that live in such with a higher range of population. The population genetic stock. This leads to the important management of genetic monitoring of population, the inclusion of adaptation and management of models, contribution to marine protected areas, or guarantee the integrity of the ecosystem. We have also the genetic affinity relationship, helps provides the indication for linkage between the take and no-take areas, boundaries between marine protective areas. Here are some examples in the table, in the figure. Now let's go to pamana sa Pilipinas. Pambansang alyansa ng maliliit na mangingisda ng mga galaga sa karagatan, sanktuaryo at sanktuaryo sa Pilipinas. or in English, National Alliance of Small Fish Folk Sanctuaries in the Philippines. PAMANA is a grassfolk alliance which focus on marine protected areas. Involvement which is 6,000 individuals and their 30,000 family members. They access on food, education, and health service. When the fish folk families are directly dependent upon the fish harvest of the relative health of the environment. They focus on the abundance only of that system of organization that was given to them, which is the Pamana Pilipinas. It's an eco-health strategy linking to the health of the coastal. By this, they are limited to do more illegal things that damage the ocean. Pamana activities viewed by the membership of barangays, village workers, contribution to nutritional community health. This alliance provides a model of building the capacity of fishing and country's grassroots initiative. Only the solution to the fisheries contribution of security, given the challenges of fish folk, poverty, environmental degradation, and limited finance. This could be the possible solution to them to help the people around those areas to have incomes, not just protecting but also to have income in terms of having a business. That will be all. Thank you.
One major concern in this course of MPA management and effectiveness is how to match the biophysical management requirements with the social and cultural dimensions. It is very important to understand how people in the biological state of MPAs relate in coastal management through shaping stewardship and ownership access, considering effective strategy for resource and management control and equal benefits. What are being upheld are empowerment, emancipated self-esteem, and sense of community and heritage. Thus, holistically in this perspective, fisheries management and MPA management are often viewed in the context of integrated coastal management. ICM or Integrated Coastal Management helps local government to achieve social and economic development targets. It is an integrated approach, which means regarding all aspects of the coastal zone, including geographical, social, and even political boundaries, in an attempt to achieve sustainability.
Mariculture and sea ranching has been viewed as complementary to MPA management and the context of coastal zoning management and ICM. This situation is exemplified in the experience of the sea urchin fishery collapse and its eventual combination of grow-out and reseeding in Bolinao, Pangasinan, Philippines. In the early 1990s, the sea urchin fishery in Bolinao was a multi-million peso industry which collapsed in 1997 due to completion of the hatchery production technology adoption. Hence, the closure of the life of the sea urchin, Trichnoestes gratilia, was achieved and linked to the fishery resources management interventions. Thus, the reseeding and grow-out hatchery, which produced sea urchin juveniles, were pursued together with fishery operators. These mini grow-out areas are where cooperators were made to understand that they have to wait for the juveniles to spawn before they can harvest them. Thus, these areas serve like de facto marine reproductive reserves. De facto marine reproductive reserves are regions of the ocean where human activity is restricted for reasons other than conservation. So what is mariculture? Mariculture is the farming of aquatic plants and animals in saltwater. Thus, mariculture represents a subset of the larger field of aquaculture, which involves the farming of both freshwater and marine organisms. The major categories of mariculture species are seaweeds, mollusks, crustaceans, and finfish. Sea ranching, on the other hand, juveniles, also called spat, are introduced into the natural environment, where they are allowed to grow without containment structures, and the suitable species for sea ranching are sea cucumbers and scallops. In addition to the Bolinao Pangasinan mini grow-out areas, the reseeding in MPA no-take areas require that the MPA also be managed like a sea ranching area, where spillover biomass are treated as the main interest of their stewardship. As can be seen in the figure 20, the picture shown, this event may be one possible indication where the spillover can be enhanced. Based on the initial simulation scenarios of spillover of MPAs and the area needed for recovery of stocks from overexploitation by Hillman and others in the year 2002, it would take an unreasonably large area to achieve recovery. Which is why trans-border agreements have been initiated in some parts of the Philippines. For example, the bilateral trans-border agreement between Malaysia and the Philippines on the Turtle Islands, in which the countries have collaborated on a wide range of cooperative endeavors such as anti-piracy, border crossing, and environmental protection. In addition, the large marine ecosystem or LME approach referred to our earlier discussions is not only being pursued from an esoteric academic standpoint, but efforts are underway in applying this in an eco-regional vision mission. For example, the LMEs as seen in the Sulu-Sulawesi marine ecoregion was achieved together with the participation of local communities. As you can see on the map, the area within the red line is the Sulu-Sulawesi marine ecoregion, which covers a relatively large area and contains geographically distinct assemblage of natural communities and species. In addition, disputed areas like the Spratlys in the South China Sea not only serve as marine sanctuaries for fisheries replenishment, but may also serve as peace parks akin to those areas in regions of conflict. So peace parks are transboundary protected areas or ecological protected areas that spans boundaries of more than one country or subnational entity